Today we're making 3 one-pan meals, which are recipes that come together in just one pan. We're gonna go through a chicken, beef, and a salmon option, so you have multiple choices to pick from throughout the week. Let's get right into it. The first meal is a classic chicken and rice with Mediterranean-inspired flavors. For this recipe, you can use basmati or jasmine rice. I'm going to use jasmine rice because that's what I have on hand. Just make sure that you rinse and drain your rice a couple times to help remove any starches, which will make it less sticky and give you a fluffier final product. At this point, you want to trim any excess fat, feathers, or anything in general you don't want to be eating off of your chicken thighs. And if you don't mind any of those things, then this would be an optional step. For this recipe, I'm using coriander seeds, which I'm going to grind out in this mortar and pestle, which I find adds a really nice aroma to the overall dish. And since one-pan meals are all about minimizing unnecessary dishes, we're actually going to marinate the chicken in the same pan we're going to cook it in. Season the chicken with lemon juice, ground coriander, paprika, oregano, dried dill, garlic powder, minced garlic, olive oil, salt, and pepper. Massage this all in, then set it aside to marinate for about 15 to 20 minutes. While the chicken marinates, I'm going to make a Greek-style salad, which is green bell pepper, mini cucumbers, red onion, and cherry tomatoes. Dress up the salad with some feta cheese and a Greek-style dressing, which is just a combination of lemon juice, olive oil, oregano, minced garlic, salt, and pepper. Once the chicken is done marinating, go ahead and place it over a stove on high heat and allow all the liquid to evaporate. Once the liquid has evaporated, you can reduce the heat to low and slowly cook the chicken so that the presentation side can get some nice color on it. And one more way that you can minimize unnecessary dishes is using the lid of your pan as a holding platter for our chicken while we work on the rice. To get all that good stuff off the bottom of the pan and into our rice, add in some yellow onions, squeeze in some water to help deglaze, making sure to scrape off every bit of flavor. Add in the washed and drained rice and mix it all together with the onions until everything is well combined. You can also flavor this up a little more by sprinkling in some turmeric and adding in some cardamom pods, which I like to put in these bags. Add in a cinnamon stick, then pour in some water, add salt and pepper to taste. Then once it's boiling, add your chicken on top. Cover with a lid, make sure that all the chicken juices go right back in there as well, and let this simmer on a low heat for about 15 to 20 minutes. Once the rice is cooked, you can top it all off with some fresh parsley and a little drizzle of butter, and that is your finished dish. This next dish is called Kofta Sayniyeh, which translates to meat in a tray. It's essentially kofta kebabs and potato wedges cooked in a garlicky, hearty tomato sauce. This dish starts with a good kefta mixture, which is a combination of yellow onion or Spanish onion, which is what I'm using here, and fresh parsley. Add the roughly chopped onions and parsley to a food processor and get that going, making sure to scrape down the sides every couple pulses until you have an onion parsley paste that looks something like this. Add your ground beef to a cutting board. An 80-20 or 70-30 mixture is just fine. Add the onion parsley mixture right on top, along with some spices, which we're going to be using 7 spice, cinnamon, black pepper, and salt. Get this all combined by folding the meat over onto itself and gently pressing until you have all the ingredients well incorporated. Try to avoid aggressively kneading or over mixing your meat mixture, which can lead to a tough and dry kebab. Once the kefta mixture is ready, go ahead and grab a ice cream scoop or a tablespoon, anything that will give you consistent sized amounts of the meat mixture. Form your kebabs by using a pressing and rolling motion like this until you have the desired shape of your kebab. Place the kebabs in the fridge for about 30 minutes while we work on the potatoes. Peel the skin off of 2 yellow potatoes, and here's a tip to help minimize mess in the kitchen is to always have some sort of a small bowl on hand so you can collect any scraps of food while you're cooking. Slice up your potatoes into potato wedges like this and set that aside. For this recipe, you're going to want to use a pan that's oven safe, so something that can go from the stovetop to the oven. For my fat of choice, I'm going to be using ghee because it adds a nice nutty flavor and also has a high smoke point, but you could also use any high smoke point oil like avocado oil or vegetable oil. Once the potatoes have a nice golden color, you can transfer them from the pan to the lid of that pan and season with salt. Discard any of the excess oil that's in the pan and then sear off the kofta kebabs just until they have some color on them. It's not necessary to cook all the way through because they're going to continue to cook in the oven. Without cleaning out the pan, add in some tomato paste and let that cook on a medium heat for a few minutes or until the color deepens. Then add in some minced garlic along with a chicken bouillon cube and some boiling water. Then simmer on a medium to low heat for just a few minutes. The goal here is to get everything dissolved. Now this step is optional, but I like to strain out the tomato sauce to get any little black burnt bits out of my sauce. And the reason you don't want to wipe down the pan before you add in the tomato paste is because you want all of that beefy flavor from the kofta kebabs to go into your sauce. Now for the fun part, you're going to arrange your kebabs and potato wedges into your pan in this nice pattern. I'm also adding in some half moon slices of tomatoes and then drizzling that tomato sauce right on top. And if you don't care for the aesthetic, you can just keep the tomato sauce in the pan, then toss the kebabs and potato wedges directly in there. Cover with the lid and let this simmer on a medium heat for about 15 to 20 minutes while the oven preheats. I like to finish this dish off with some shishito peppers and pop this in the oven for another 25 to 30 minutes or until the top has some nice color. Once the dish is finished, you'll have the softest potatoes and the most tender, juicy beef kebabs, and that tomato sauce is the cherry on top. Traditionally, this is eaten with some pita bread. You just take off a piece of bread and use that to cradle your little chunk of meat or potato and then dunk it in that tomato sauce, and that is the perfect bite. You could also just eat it with a fork or a spoon or put it over some rice. The final recipe is a sheet tray lemon Dijon salmon over a bed of baby potatoes and zucchini. This recipe comes together the quickest out of all 3 one-pan meal recipes, so it's definitely a go-to for those busy weeknights. Start with a baking tray and add in a couple tablespoons of ghee or any high smoke point oil. Then add baby potatoes to the tray, season with salt and pepper, and toss the potatoes until they're all evenly coated. Since potatoes take longer to cook compared to the salmon and zucchini, we're gonna pop these in the oven and bake halfway for about 20 minutes. Next, we'll make the lemon Dijon sauce. We're going to brush over the salmon, which is Dijon mustard, garlic powder, paprika, dried parsley, and lemon juice. Whisk that all together, and for the salmon, I'm using Atlantic salmon, which I'm slicing into portions, patting it completely dry, and then brushing the Dijon lemon mixture over the top and on the sides. I wanted to add something green to this dish, so I'm slicing up some zucchini, but you could also use broccoli if you prefer. Just make sure that whatever vegetable you choose to add takes about the same time to cook as the salmon. Add the zucchini to the baking tray and try to coat as many pieces in the residual oil and salt on the bottom of the tray, then lay the salmon on top and continue to bake for another 15 to 20 minutes. While that bakes, I'm making a lemon dill butter sauce to drizzle on top of the salmon and potatoes. For this, you'll need to mince up 1 large garlic clove, then add that into some warm melted butter along with some fresh dill, lemon juice, a little honey, and a pinch of salt. While the salmon is still fresh out of the oven, you're going to drizzle that lemon butter dill sauce all over the top, and that is your final dish. I hope you enjoyed these 3 one-pan meal ideas and get the chance to try them out when you're looking for something quick or minimal mess, and I'll see you guys in the next video.